The night was quiet, yet there was something unnatural about the silence. It wasn't the ordinary stillness that comes when the world is asleep. It was a heavy, suffocating quiet that presses against your ears until you can hear your own heartbeat. That was the night when the story of the man who smiled without a face truly began. And once you hear it, it stays with you, creeping back into your thoughts when you least expect it. It started with a small town, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and life was simple. People locked their doors more out of habit than fear, because nothing dangerous ever seemed to happen there. But then children began whispering about a figure they had seen at the edge of the woods, a tall, thin man who stood perfectly still, watching. When asked to describe him, they could not explain the details of his face, only that he was smiling. Yet when pressed further, they hesitated, their voices trembling. He was smiling, they repeated, but he didn't have a face. At first, adults dismissed it as childish imagination. Kids often see shadows and twist them into monsters. But then one night, a young boy went missing. His parents swore they had tucked him into bed, only to wake in the morning and find his sheets cold, his window open, and his room empty. Search parties scoured the town and the surrounding woods, but no trace of the boy was found. Whispers about the faceless man began to spread, and suddenly the story was not just for children anymore. Witnesses began to come forward, reluctantly admitting they had seen something too. A woman walking home late from work claimed she spotted a figure standing beneath a street lamp, unnaturally tall, his body casting a shadow but his face blank, smooth as porcelain, except for a mouth stretched in a wide, grotesque smile. She said she ran as fast as she could, but even then she could hear the sound of laughter following her, not loud, not human, but thin and sharp, like something broken trying to mimic joy. What made the sightings worse was the consistency. Different people, from different parts of town, all described the same detail. The smile that seemed too wide, too deliberate, stretched across a face that wasn't really a face at all. No eyes, no nose, no lines, just smooth skin and a mouth that grinned as if it knew something terrible. The more people whispered, the stronger the fear grew. The man wasn't just seen at night. Sometimes he appeared in reflections, caught in mirrors for a second before vanishing when someone turned around. Sometimes he appeared in dreams, where people swore they could feel him watching them, smiling with that faceless grin. A few even claimed to wake up in the middle of the night to see him standing at the foot of their bed, motionless, his grin shining faintly in the darkness. They would blink, and he would be gone, leaving behind the suffocating stench of decay. The missing boy was never found, and soon more strange disappearances followed. Pets vanished, children went missing, and in one chilling case, an entire family was discovered in their home, sitting at their dinner table, their food untouched, their faces pale as if drained of life. Every mirror in the house was shattered. The only clue was a faint smear on the window pane, a handprint, stretched impossibly long, as if it did not belong to a human hand at all. People began to speak of rules, whispered survival strategies passed around like old folklore. Never look directly at him for too long, or he will notice you. Never acknowledge the smile, because the moment you admit you've seen it, he becomes aware of you. And above all, never open your windows at night, no matter how much you hear tapping on the glass. Because once you invite him in, The smile is the last thing you'll ever see. Psychologists and skeptics tried to explain it away. They said it was mass hysteria, a town feeding off its own paranoia, twisting coincidences into a myth. But no rational explanation could account for the recordings. One teenager, desperate to prove the figure was real, set up a camera in his room one night, aimed at the window. When the tape was played back, the boy was seen sleeping peacefully. At first, nothing happened. But then, at precisely 3:12 a.m., a shadow stretched across the glass, blocking the moonlight. The figure leaned forward, faceless, but unmistakably grinning. The camera trembled, though no one was touching it, and then the boy's body jolted in his sleep as if touched by something cold. Moments later, the video cut to static. The boy was never seen again. His parents found his bed empty the next morning, the sheets still warm. What terrified people most was not that he appeared, but how he lingered. He was never in a hurry, never rushing or chasing. He simply stood, smiling, waiting, as though he knew that eventually, curiosity or fear would make you acknowledge him. And once you did, there was no undoing it. The stories said his smile carried a curse. Those who saw it too clearly would lose themselves piece by piece. First came the nightmares, then the paranoia. Soon after, they began to forget their loved ones' faces, unable to recall details of eyes, noses, expressions. And in the end, they would vanish, becoming faceless themselves, as if absorbed into the same void that created him. Some people believe he was never human, that he is something older, a shadow that wears the idea of a man like a disguise, a spirit born from fear itself. Others whisper that he was once a man who made a deal for eternal life but lost his face in the process, cursed to wander forever, smiling at those who still cling to their humanity. The town eventually became deserted. Too many people had disappeared, too many lives ruined by the faceless smile. Houses stand empty now, doors broken, windows shattered. And still, those who dare to pass through at night claim they see him wandering the streets, pausing beneath the flickering lamps, tilting his blank head as if listening, and always, always smiling. If you hear laughter in the dark when you know you are alone, do not turn around. If you catch a glimpse of movement in the corner of your eye, do not investigate. And if you see a figure standing still in the shadows, too still, with a grin that stretches too wide across skin that should not exist, pray it is only your imagination. Because once you've seen the smile without a face, it has already seen you.